Chapter 81. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Xingliu secretly complained in his heart. He knew he had made a wrong move, however, it was too late now. He really forgot to prepare a gift for Uzumaki Mito. Now he could only force a smile and said, "Grandma Mito, isn't it the new year yet? When it comes, I will definitely prepare a gift for you." This reason certainly couldn't deceive Uzumaki Mito. She could see Uchiha Xingliu's embarrassment and helplessness at a glance, but what made Uchiha Xingliu relieved was that Uzumaki Mito didn't continue to ask. She glanced at Uchiha Xingliu and smiled indifferently, then she turned her head and continued to look at the scroll in her hand, and seemed to have a strong interest in the scroll. After a while, Uzumaki Mito returned the scroll to Tsunade and said solemnly, "You must keep this scroll well and don't let others know, understand?" Looking at Uzumaki Mito's expression, Tsunade understood that this scroll could indeed practice would release, which made her feel extremely excited. Asking her not to let others see it is also to protect her safety. Otherwise, if someone takes the risk to grab the scroll, Tsunade is not as strong as Uchiha Xingliu. She nodded excitedly, took the scroll and immediately ran to Uchiha Xingliu. Because she was too excited, her face became red, and she looked at Uchiha Xingliu with gratitude and said, "Thank you, Xingliu. I am very satisfied with this New Year's gift." Uchiha Xingliu smiled indifferently and gently touched Tsunade's head, which made her face even redder. "It's nothing to me." Uchiha Xingliu said so. Hearing this, Tsunade shook her head seriously and said, "This may not be a big deal to you, but for me, this is the most precious thing." Hearing Tsunade's words, Uchiha Xingliu looked into her eyes, and Tsunade also stared into his eyes. At this moment, the strange feeling in Tsunade's heart before emerged again. Uzumaki Mito was smiling like an auntie, and this scene made her, a bystander, very happy. However, at this romantic moment, the straight man Uchiha Xingliu did not continue to talk with Tsunade. He suddenly turned around and said to Nono, who was envious, "Nono, I haven't prepared your New Year's gift yet, but I will definitely give it to you on New Year's Day." This move caused various psychological fluctuations in the three women present. Nono looked at Uchiha Xingliu happily, of course, while Uzumaki Mito looked at him like a fool. Tsunade pouted directly, snorted coldly, and ran back to her room. His straight man behavior directly broke the romantic atmosphere just now, but it did not prevent Uzumaki Mito from eating melons. Uchiha Xingliu was a little confused about this, and he shook his head without figuring out the reason. He didn't know how to read minds, so this sudden romantic scene made him a little unresponsive. Therefore, he did not pay too much attention to what happened to Tsunade. After all, sometimes women are really unpredictable. Uchiha Xingliu continued to say to Nono, "Your gift is also a scroll of secret techniques. Look forward to it." That's right, the gift he gave to Nono was also a practice scroll. As a ninja who can learn the palm technique in the future, Nono must have a talent for illusion. Being able to learn the palm technique means that she has a very good talent in controlling chakra. Therefore, the illusion that also requires this chakra control is also suitable for Nono. In addition to her talent in espionage, her insight into people's hearts is absolutely first class. Therefore, Uchiha Xingliu thinks that illusion is very suitable for Nono. He plans to learn an illusion and put it on the hang-up bar, and then teach it to Nono after hanging up to blue. Although the hang-up system is not as fast as before when it is purple, the corresponding speed is very fast below blue. And the prompt also shows that to a certain extent, he can affect his ability after promotion. Therefore, he speculated that if the illusion is left at blue, there is a high probability that the ability of five senses hypnosis will appear. Of course, the blue ability may not be that strong, but it is enough for Nono. Nono was already immersed in the joy of Uchiha Xingliu's gift to her. Her rosy lips slightly raised, and her eyes flashed with anticipation. When Nono heard that the gift he was going to give to Tsunade and Nono was the same secret scroll, Nono's joy was beyond words. Her eyes were full of surprise and emotion, as if the whole world was lit up at this moment. But it can only be said that Uchiha Xingliu is indeed a straight man. After he finished saying this, he left in the puzzled eyes of the two. The reason why Uchiha Xingliu chose to leave was because he did have important things to deal with. Since his three abilities were upgraded to purple, he began to vaguely sense the white Zetsu lurking in Konoha village, and today, he can clearly sense how many white Zetsu there are in Konoha village. As I thought before, there are the most white Zetsu on the Uchiha side, but there are fewer in other places, especially the Senju clan land and the Hokage building, plus some streets. Uchiha Xingliu thought carefully, these places are all frequented by Uzumaki Mito, although the white Zetsu no longer has much impact on him after these places no longer exist, but how can you let others snore beside your bed? Therefore, Uchiha Xingliu decided to completely clean up these white Zetsu, considering that these white Zetsu's mayfly technique can allow them to escape quickly. Uchiha Xingliu decided to go all out. Come to think of it, I haven't used my full strength yet. Uchiha Xingliu smiled self-deprecatingly and closed his eyes. When he opened it again, the Mangekyo had already appeared in his eye sockets. At the same time, 3 white Zetsu were monitoring the basement of Uchiha Jiji's house. Uchiha Madara's plan needed a spokesperson, so he had long been eyeing the Uchiha and investigating talented people. Uchiha Jiji was the object of her observation. After Uchiha Ong opened the Mangekyo, he paid more attention to this family. Uchiha Ong, Uchiha Xien, and Uchiha Jiji, each of these 3 had a white Zetsu lurking beside them. At this time, the 3 white Zetsu were discussing something underground. The master asked me to monitor this little girl, but she just goes to school and practices every day, and does nothing else. Yes, the old man I monitor drinks tea and handles official business every day, and beats his son when he has nothing to do. Why are you saying this? By the way, do you know what it feels like to poop? A white Zetsu asked me this question, and I also want to know. Before he finished speaking, the next second, all the white Zetsu in Konoha lost their lives instantly. Uchiha Ong and Uzumaki Mito looked in a direction with shock on their faces. There was the location of Uchiha Xingliu. Chapter 82. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Tsuryu stood there, the kaleidoscope in his eyes was like a rotating universe, as if swallowing everything around. At that moment, he used the ability of teleportation to transmit the flame of the kaleidoscope to the side of every white Zetsu in Konoha. The opening of the eternal kaleidoscope increased the power of his pupil technique again. The wisp of flame of the pupil technique Brahma, like the sickle of the god of death, silently turned those white Zetsu into ashes. This was a silent massacre, and even few people could sense it. Just like the system's earlier reminder, the combat power level does not represent everything. The current Uchiha Tsuryu, without the strength of the shadow, does not even have the ability to stand in front of him. He attacked the white Zetsu this time, so he was not afraid of Uchiha Madara's attack. Because the current Uchiha Madara is not the Six Paths Madara during the Fourth War, if he really came, Uchiha Tsuryu would be sure to keep him in Konoha forever. At this moment, Uzumaki Mito and Uchiha Ong came quickly, with tension and anxiety on their faces. Behind them, there was a group of fully armed ninjas. Tsunade's parents, Uchiha Xien, Uzumaki Nori, Senju Keiho and other powerful ninjas followed closely behind. The air around them seemed to solidify, filled with tension and murderous atmosphere. The leaves swayed in the wind, as if preparing for the upcoming battle. He guessed that his actions just now might be too outrageous. Although the wave that just killed white Zetsu was small, the range was more than half of Konoha. This made Uzumaki Mito and Uchiha Ong, who could sense it, feel a great sense of crisis, and just in case, they notified many people to come together, so it created the current murderous situation. But when they saw that the person here was Uchiha Xingliu, they relaxed visibly. Uzumaki Mito walked up to him, tapped his forehead, and said unhappily, "Didn't you promise me last time that you would notify me first if something like this happened again?" That after he set off fireworks to surprise Tsunade last time, he did promise to notify Uzumaki Mito first of such things in the future. So Uchiha Xingliu was a little embarrassed after hearing this. He really forgot about it. However, this time is completely different from the last time. Strictly speaking, he is doing something useful for Konoha this time. Thinking of this, Uchiha Xingliu's confidence instantly became full, and he retorted, "Mito grandma, this time is different from the last time. There is a reason why I don't tell you." Hearing Uchiha Xingliu say this, Uzumaki Mito frowned slightly. She didn't doubt Xingliu, but was a little worried. The power shown by this child has surpassed his age, and she is afraid that he will be blinded by this power. However, when she saw the determination and confidence flashing in Uchiha Xingliu's eyes, she knew that the child had made his own decision, so she motioned him to continue. Uchiha Xingliu saw Uzumaki Mito's encouraging eyes, and his heart was slightly warmed, so he continued. I have made some progress during this period, and I feel that there are the same things peeping in many places in Konoha. His tone became serious. And I found that these creatures move very fast and have strong hiding ability. If they continue, they may pose a threat to Konoha. At this point, Uchiha Xingliu's expression became solemn. So in order to solve them all at once, I dealt with them all myself. As soon as Uchiha Xingliu finished speaking, the people behind Uzumaki Mito were dumbfounded, exchanging puzzled and shocked looks with each other. For a moment, the whole scene fell into a brief silence, with only the rustling sound of the wind blowing through the leaves ringing in the ears. Tsunade's father, Senju Yosuke, was the first to break the silence. He stepped forward and stared at Uchiha Tsuryu with sharp eyes. Tsuryu, do you know how sensational what you just said is? How could you attack every corner of Konoha in an instant and kill all those creatures accurately? This is simply unbelievable. Uchiha Xien took over the conversation, frowned and shook his head. Forget about us, but even the perception ninja didn't find anything. Are you sure you didn't say it wrong? Although he knew that Uchiha Tsuryu had opened the Mangekyo, in the history of Uchiha, even the ability of the Mangekyo was not so outrageous. His words made Uzumaki Nori and Senju Keiho nod their heads, indicating that they agreed with his point of view. Facing the doubts of the crowd, Uchiha Tsuryu was not angry, he understood their reaction. After all, this matter was too shocking and beyond their common sense. The legend of the Six Paths Sage has been around for 1,000 years, and the strongest ninjas they have ever seen are nothing more than Hashirama Senju and Uchiha Madara, but the abilities of these two people are both very powerful, and it is rare to have such a silent and large-scale killing ability like him, so he took a deep breath and said slowly. I know it's hard to believe, but that's the truth. I didn't mislead you, nor did I make any mistakes. His eyes were firm and bright, as if he could see through people's hearts. If you don't trust me, you can go and check it out yourself. I believe that although those creatures are dead, the remains left behind have not disappeared. Everyone was shocked by his eyes, and no one answered for a while, and Uzumaki Mito stood quietly aside, looking at Uchiha Xingliu, with a light of recognition in his eyes. She knew this child and knew that he would not make a point, let alone lie about such things. Therefore, Uzumaki Mito stood up and said, Don't be in a hurry to question. I believe that Xiao Xingliu will not lie about such a major matter. Her words calmed the doubts on the scene and made everyone fall into silence again, and her words were full of trust in Uchiha Xingliu. Instead of arguing here, it is better to listen to him and look for traces of these creatures. Hearing this, they suddenly realized what Uzumaki Mito said made sense. The existence of these creatures could be confirmed by looking for them, so, they separated a few people and went to the location mentioned by Uchiha Xingliu. Uchiha Xingliu stood in place and smiled indifferently. His current strength no longer requires him to hide anything. This generous display of strength is also to pave the way for future things. Although he did not hide anything deliberately before, he will definitely become more bold now. He has made preparations and officially stood on the stage of the ninja world. Thinking of this, Uchiha Tsuryu looked at Uzumaki Mito, who had been watching him, and said with a smile, Grandma Mito, let me participate in this Chunin exam in my true identity. It's time for the rest of the ninja villages to relive the feeling when the first generation was alive. Chapter 83. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uzumaki Mito looked at Uchiha Xingliu, who was radiating confidence, with a hint of relief and pride in her eyes. This little boy who met a year ago has already possessed enough strength in a short period of time. What's more rare is that he has not been changed by his own strength. She looked at Uchiha Xingliu deeply, then nodded, and said firmly, Okay, little Xingliu, just do as you say, I will always believe in you. After getting the approval of Uzumaki Mito, Uchiha Xingliu showed a brighter smile on his face. While the two were talking, those who were sent out to look for the remains of White Zetsu had returned one after another. They walked back with the lifeless body of White Zetsu in their hands. This scene immediately caused a sensation among the people present, and countless eyes gathered and looked at Uchiha Xingliu in disbelief. As the director of the medical department, Senju Keiho stepped forward. At the first time, with a serious expression and sharp eyes, he squatted down and began to carefully examine the bodies of these white Zetsu. His hands gently touched the bodies, as if he was feeling the remaining vitality. His eyes revealed concentration and seriousness, as if he was looking for the secrets hidden in these bodies. During this period, everyone's eyes were focused on Senju Keiho. They held their breath and waited for the conclusion of the Minister of Medical Affairs. After a while, Senju Keiho completed the examination. The bodies of white Zetsu are different from those of humans. Instead, they are more like plants. This shows that it is indeed possible for people not to notice them, and when he just checked, he found that all these bodies were killed in one blow, which is exactly the same as what Uchiha Xingliu said. This shows that Uchiha Xingliu really did this. He stood up and looked at Uchiha Xingliu with a hint of shock and admiration. The discovery just now made him re-examine the young man in front of him. Then the result of the matter was announced. It's the same as what Uchiha Xingliu said. All these creatures died under the same attack. As soon as the voice fell, the whole square fell into silence. The people present looked at Uchiha Xingliu in astonishment. Their hearts were filled with shock and admiration. The bodies of the white Zetsu that were brought back just now had already given everyone present a premonition. However, when the facts were in front of them, they still couldn't believe their eyes. The child who was still in the first grade of the ninja school had such strength, even though there had been rumors that Uchiha Xingliu repelled the spies from the outside world and escaped the pursuit of the root. All this can still be described as talented Uchiha Xingliu, but what happened in front of them today has exceeded their cognition. This is no longer potential or genius. Instead, he has become a real strong man who surpasses all of them. Senju Yosuke is still a little bit unbelievable. Uchiha Xingliu had been growing up under his gaze, and he hadn't seen him practice, so how could he become so strong? So he asked. So, Xingliu, you really killed all the peepers in an instant? Uchiha Xingliu nodded without comment and said. As you can see, this is the fact. I am not exaggerating, nor am I lying. The exact answer made the scene fall into a brief silence, and everyone was digesting this shocking news, and at this moment, Uzumaki Mito's voice slowly sounded. Well, the truth about this matter has been revealed. Let's stop here. Her voice was clearly heard throughout the square, and people were quiet at this moment, waiting for her next words. Since you are all here, I will tell you the second thing. This Chunin exam is very important. I originally wanted to let Xingliu quietly participate in this exam as a contestant. This can not only ensure Konoha's victory, but also protect Xingliu from being regarded as a target of attack by other villages to a certain extent. Her words warmed everyone's hearts. This arrangement was well-intentioned and it was a protection for Xingliu. However, what happened today, and Xingliu just confirmed his decision to me, I think it is necessary to announce it to everyone. Her tone suddenly became excited, and her eyes turned to Uchiha Xingliu. Uchiha Xingliu will no longer hide his strength. He will participate in this exam with his true face and send a signal to other ninja villages. She paused, and then her voice became louder. Konoha has regained a ninja god. As soon as Uzumaki Mito finished speaking, everyone present widened their eyes, and cast her eyes warmly at Uchiha Xingliu. Her words showed that Uchiha Xingliu now had the strength of the first generation. There was no need to wait for him to grow up, as he was now enough to be the protector of Konoha. How could they remain calm? Especially those who had witnessed the first generation, their eyes were red with excitement. As the wife of the first generation, Senju Hashirama, Uzumaki Mito knew very well how powerful her husband was. Numbers had no meaning in front of ninjas of their level. The strength shown by Uchiha Xingliu this time had made her understand that he already had such strength. There was no doubt that this Chunin exam would not only ensure that Konoha would gain the greatest benefits, it would also prevent the rest of the ninja villages from starting a war while Uchiha Xingliu was still alive. Konoha had gained at least a few decades of peace. Under the gaze of everyone, Uchiha Xingliu smiled faintly, a smile full of confidence and calmness. He did not say anything, but the changes in his eyes explained everything. His Sharingan had inadvertently transformed into a Mangekyo form. The dazzling colors and complex patterns were a symbol of his strength. When everyone saw the changes in his Sharingan, their eyes became even more enthusiastic. In the ninja world, nothing is more convincing than the Mangekyo Sharingan. This is a symbol of strength and a sign of the pinnacle of Uchiha ninja. At this moment, the figure of Uchiha Xingliu has been deeply engraved in their hearts. His reputation has also reached its peak. Having experienced the First War, they have understood the importance of the first generation and Uchiha Madara. Not long after they died, the other ninja villages launched a war. This made them understand that only strong strength can maintain peace, so, in the future, even if he doesn't want to be a Hokage, someone will push him to that high position. Maybe one day, when he wakes up, he will find that he has been wearing a yellow robe and has become the leader of Konoha. Chapter 84. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Xingliu stood in the center of the crowd, surrounded by everyone's eyes. Their eyes were full of admiration and expectation, as if he was their hope and future. Faced with such a scene, Uchiha Xingliu just smiled faintly, and then said, "Mito grandma is exaggerating. I am still young and there is room for improvement." As soon as he finished speaking, the square fell into silence. People widened their eyes, as if they couldn't believe what they heard, but soon, they reacted and burst into more enthusiastic cheers. So humble. As expected of Uchiha. He will definitely surpass the first generation. The voices of the people gathered into a torrent, impacting Uchiha Xingliu's eardrums. He frowned slightly and raised his hand to signal everyone to be quiet. His original intention was just to be humble, but he didn't expect to be understood like this. At this moment, he suddenly understood Zhao Kuanyin. Uchiha Xingliu had to speak again, with a hint of helplessness in his voice. "I just said that I still have room for improvement, and I didn't say that I will definitely surpass the first generation." But the crowd did not listen to his explanation, but strengthened their beliefs. This incident allowed them to see Uchiha Xingliu's strength with their own eyes. Now, even Uzumaki Mito commented on him in this way, so, they only believe in the facts they have seen, and this young man must have unlimited possibilities. Just then, a gentle voice sounded. "Xingliu, don't belittle yourself. Your potential is unmatched, and the future is yours." It was Uzumaki Mito. She stood not far away, smiling at Uchiha Xingliu. Her eyes were full of encouragement and expectation, as if saying, "You are the best." This scene made Uchiha Xingliu slightly stunned, and then seemed to think of something. After Konoha lost the god of ninja world, war came, and war always makes people lose a lot. Now they just need to have a pillar again. At this moment, what is needed is no longer humility but indulgence. You need to release your arrogance and show your absolute strength and majesty. After figuring this out, he used the traditional Uchiha art and laughed wildly and said, "In that case, let this Chunin exam become the nightmare of other ninja villages." Oh. After Uchiha Xingliu laughed wildly that day, the matter came to an end. The matter has been clarified, and everyone present has also got the answers they want, so they all left with satisfaction. Among them, the most satisfied is Senju Keiho from the medical department. After getting the remains of the white Zetsu, he started researching with excitement. Uchiha Xingliu will naturally not miss the opportunity to let Orochimaru participate. Although he has just started learning this, he can also study and research at the same time. Orochimaru needs to save his parents, so even if it will be very hard, he will thank us. The strange thing is that several days after this incident, Konoha is still as calm as before. It turns out that these people did not make a fuss after knowing Uchiha Tsurayu's strength. After all, this is also a kind of information about ninja ability. Why should they publicize it if they can keep it secret? On the other hand, they are all holding back. They are just waiting to give other ninja villages a big blow during the high school entrance examination, and Uzumaki Mito felt very helpless. That day, when Uchiha Tsurayu confirmed to her that he would participate in the Chunin exam with his true identity, she subconsciously thought that Uchiha Tsurayu was going to graduate early. For this reason, she specially prepared graduation materials for him in advance, hoping to complete the graduation procedures for him as soon as possible. On this day, she found Uchiha Tsurayu, looked at him and said, "Xiao Xingliu, I have prepared the graduation materials for you." Her tone revealed her concern and expectation for Uchiha Tsurayu. "When do you think we can go through the process and take a graduation exam?" That she continued to ask, her eyes revealing her expectations for Uchiha Tsuyu's future. However, what she didn't expect was that Uchiha Tsuyu replied with a surprised look. "I didn't say I was going to graduate." Uzumaki Mito was stunned. She looked at Uchiha Xingliu, her heart full of confusion and questions. You are going to participate in the Chunin exam with your true identity. How can you participate if you don't graduate? That she couldn't help asking, hoping to get a clear answer from Uchiha Xingliu. Yes. Uchiha Xingliu nodded and replied. Then you are going to graduate. Uzumaki Mito asked again. Why do you want to graduate? The Chunin exam has clear rules. Do you have to be a genin to participate? Uchiha Xingliu asked back, with a sly smile on his face. This question choked Uzumaki Mito, and she suddenly realized that she had made a mistake. It turned out that Uchiha Xingliu did not plan to graduate early, he just wanted to participate in the Chunin exam with his true face. Yes, Uchiha Xingliu was not planning to graduate at all. Is there any benefit for him to become a ninja after graduation? No. Now Uchiha Xingliu only needs to wait for the growth of strength. He believes that after the Chunin exam, no one in Konoha can compare to him in terms of reputation. Not to mention money. Uzumaki Mito can also do this, make him worry. So for him, no matter from which aspect, graduating early is useless. On the contrary, after becoming a ninja, he still needs to perform missions. With this time, he can bask in the sun, taste cakes, and watch Tsunade and others practice. Isn't it happy? Of course, he chose to refuse this kind of thing with no advantages but only disadvantages. Uchiha Xingliu's refusal really stunned Uzumaki Mito, but she suddenly thought of something, smiled lightly, and a malicious look appeared on her face. Since you don't want to graduate, so be it. There was a strange sense of pleasure in her voice, but then, she continued. At that time, it will be very interesting for those carefully selected ninjas to be unable to beat a ninja school student. Her eyes were gleaming with anticipation, as if she had foreseen this happening. At this time, Uzumaki Mito and Uchiha Xingliu looked at each other, and saw the same idea in each other's eyes. Just think about it, a 7-year-old ninja school student beat up the other 4 major ninja villages. People who saw this scene would definitely consider Konoha first when issuing tasks. You, an adult ninja, can't beat other people's children, which is really lame. By then, even if other ninja villages want to do anything, it will be too late, and they can only swallow their anger. After all, in the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy seems so pale and powerless. Thinking of this, both of them showed a cunning look. Chapter 85. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After confirming Uchiha Xingliu's idea of not graduating, Uzumaki Mito didn't care, just gave a few instructions and left. Just then, Tsunade came over. She had been waiting patiently on the side, and only came over after seeing her grandmother and Xingliu finish talking. Her steps were light, and her face was filled with excitement and expectation. Tsunade ran to Uchiha Xingliu quickly, her eyes flashing with excitement, and said excitedly, Xingliu, I have practiced it. Her tone was full of excitement and pride, and people could tell that she was very happy at this time. Uchiha Xingliu looked at Tsunade in surprise. Tsunade's practice, naturally, means that she has practiced the wood release scroll. This surprised Uchiha Xingliu. After all, he had only given Tsunade this scroll not long ago. As a result, Tsunade has already practiced it successfully now. He couldn't help but feel a little confused. After all, this wood release scroll is not so easy to practice. Even if you have the natural attributes of water, soil and yang, it is not possible to succeed in such a short time. Thinking of this, Uchiha Xingliu frowned, with a hint of doubt and surprise in his voice. Have you already practiced wood release? Obviously, he didn't quite believe that Tsunade could master wood release in such a short time. Seeing Uchiha Xingliu's face of disbelief, Tsunade couldn't help but feel a little dissatisfied. She snorted lightly and said proudly, Who are you looking down on? Don't believe that I succeeded so quickly. After saying that, Tsunade didn't wait for Uchiha Xingliu to respond, and pulled his arm, ready to go to the training ground outside to show him the results of her practice. Although Uchiha Xingliu was pulled by Tsunade, he didn't break free from her hand. Although he felt a little helpless, his heart was also full of curiosity and expectation. He also wanted to see what Tsunade said practice looked like. So, he followed Tsunade all the way to the training ground. As soon as she stepped into the training ground, Tsunade couldn't wait to show her training results. She formed seals with both hands, and the whole person looked very strong, as if she was holding back a burst of energy. Suddenly, the grass seedlings on the ground seemed to have received some call, and they all rose from the ground and grew a few centimeters taller. Seeing this scene, Tsunade ran to Uchiha Xingliu with excitement and said proudly, "How about it, I succeeded." However, Uchiha Xingliu's reaction was beyond her expectations. He froze in place, his mouth opened wide, but he couldn't say a word. His eyes stayed on Tsunade's face for a moment, and then slowly moved to the grass seedlings that suddenly grew taller. Then, the corners of his mouth began to rise, and his eyes flashed with a smile that he couldn't hold back. Puff. In the end, he still couldn't help laughing out loud. This smile made his shoulders tremble violently, and tears almost flowed out. He was afraid that he would burst into laughter as soon as he opened his mouth. Looking at Tsunade's expectant face, he felt that this was too funny. Strictly speaking, Tsunade's performance can be regarded as a success, although her training results were not very outstanding. She had the basic skills and was able to use them. It was just that this way of using them was somewhat unexpected and full of funny colors. Looking at Tsunade's confident and proud expression, Uchiha Xingliu really couldn't help it. However, he soon found that Tsunade's expression gradually became gloomy, as if it was covered with dark clouds and was about to explode. Uchiha Xingliu immediately restrained his smile and coughed lightly, trying to ease the tense atmosphere on the scene. He said with a stiff face, "Your wood release was indeed successful, keep up the good work." However, his words did not seem to have much effect. Tsunade's expression was still gloomy, as if a storm was brewing. Seeing this, Uchiha Xingliu knew that it was not appropriate to stay any longer, so he hurriedly raised his foot and prepared to run away. However, just as he turned around, Tsunade's voice exploded in his ears like thunder. "Uchiha Xingliu." Her voice was full of anger and dissatisfaction, which frightened Uchiha Xingliu so much that he dared not move. He secretly said in his heart that it was not good. Knowing that he had stepped on the tiger's tail this time, he immediately stopped and turned to face Tsunade, ready to accept her anger. However, to his surprise, Tsunade did not teach him a lesson, but glared at him angrily and turned away. And when she left, there was still some crystal falling. This made him feel a little surprised and relieved at the same time. Then, Uchiha Xingliu realized that he had gone too far. After Tsunade succeeded in wood release, she came to him to share her joy as soon as possible, instead of choosing to go to Uzumaki Mido or her parents. This shows that in Tsunade's heart, his position is already quite important. However, his expectations for Tsunade were responded to with inappropriate ridicule, which undoubtedly hurt her feelings. After figuring this out, Uchiha Xingliu scratched his head in distress. He was a straight man in his previous life, and he had never had a girlfriend, so he was not good at dealing with complex emotional issues. Now that he encountered such a thing, the problem of how to make up for his mistakes was beyond his ability to deal with. He thought about it for a long time, but did not find a suitable solution. In the end, he decided to apologize directly to Tsunade, hoping that this would ease the tension between them. So, Uchiha Xingliu walked to Tsunade's room. He gently pushed open the door, and what came into view was the picture of Tsunade buried in the quilt, her body twitching constantly. This scene made him feel guilty. He took a deep breath and said softly, "Tsunade, this time it's my fault. I shouldn't have laughed at you." His voice was sincere, hoping to get Tsunade's forgiveness. Hearing Uchiha Surayu's voice, Tsunade slowly raised her head and snorted. There was a trace of grievance on her face, and her eyes were red. Obviously she had just cried. Speaking of which, it was the first time he saw Tsunade with such an expression. Tsunade in the past would not have such an expression even if she lost a lot of money in gambling. This made him understand that there are still some things that need to be paid attention to. Just like the principle he used to follow, a joke must be funny to both parties, then it is a joke. Uchiha Xingliu sat silently beside the bed, stretched out his hand, gently stroked Tsunade's hair, and whispered, "You came to me to share your joy, I shouldn't laugh at you." At this moment, Tsunade seemed to feel Uchiha Xingliu's true regret. She looked into Uchiha Xingliu's eyes and said, "I know. If you laugh at me again in the future, I will ignore you." Although there was still a hint of crying in her voice, it revealed a hint of playfulness and coquettishness. Chapter 86. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Children's emotions come and go quickly. After Uchiha Surayu apologized, Tsunade's relationship with him became better. Of course, this is also related to his transformation. Although he would occasionally trick Tsunade, they were all harmless jokes. Whenever this happened, Uzumaki Mito would look at the two of them with an ant smile, then he looked at Nonoyu beside him with a complicated look. As a person who had experienced it, she could certainly see what the little girl was like. However, the worry flashed in her mind. Just kidding, she couldn't even handle the bond between Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. You're asking her to handle this kind of thing now. It's not her professional match, and the children and grandchildren have their own blessings. I'll enjoy them without caring about them. For matters like feelings, it's better for the person involved to handle them himself. As for why Uzumaki Mito was always present, wasn't she the Hokage? No official business to deal with? At this time, Chinatsu would always like the person who asked this question in a pile of documents. Time passed, and the new year arrived. This was also the first new year that Uchiha Xingliu came here. He stood by the window, quietly watching the rising moon. The bright moon, like a lighthouse that illuminated his way forward, reminded him of his past life. Although he had some nostalgia for the past, he had a new beginning in this new world. Just as Uchiha Xingliu was immersed in his memories, Nono's voice came slowly from behind him, gentle and delicate. Xingliu-kun, Mito-sama, and Tsunade are already waiting for you. He turned around and met Nono's smiling face. Her eyes were full of kindness and expectation, and a touch of elusive emotion, which made Uchiha Xingliu feel a warm breath. It also made him understand that although he had not been in this world for long, he also had his own fetters. He walked to Nono's side and looked at her eyes that reflected himself. He gently touched her head, as if to comfort her and himself. Let's go. When Uchiha Xingliu suddenly touched her head, Nono felt her heartbeat accelerate instantly, and her face turned red. She raised her head shyly, met the gaze of the person who saved her, and responded softly. Yeah. Uchiha Xingliu looked at Nono's rosy face and smiled softly. This smile made Nono's face redder, and she began to cheer herself up in her heart. Come on, Nono, don't you envy Xingliu and Tsunade when you usually interact with them? Why is it useless when it comes to you? Thinking like this, Nono took a deep breath, mustered up the courage, and pulled Uchiha Xingliu's hand. Her palm was slightly wet, obviously because of nervousness. Uchiha Xingliu was just a little surprised, but didn't ask much. They walked down the stairs together and came to the living room on the first floor. Tsunade and the others were already waiting there. Seeing them walk in hand, Tsunade suddenly pulled his other hand. Her little face puffed up and looked a little angry. Uchiha Xingliu looked at her with some confusion, wondering why she was like this. Apparently, Uchiha Xingliu forgot that the girls in the Naruto world were much more mature than he thought. Hinata and Sakura, the two girls who were still children in his eyes, fell deeply in love with Naruto and Sasuke at a very young age. He looked at the people on the side and noticed that they laughed dumbly, obviously seeing his embarrassment at the moment. At this time, Uzumaki Mito came out to break the deadlock. Her tone was a little playful. Looking at the interaction between the three people, she said with some playfulness. Since Xiao Xingliu is here, let's go, they will catch up with us. After that, she took the lead and walked out of the room. Then, Senju Yosuke and his wife also looked deeply at Uchiha Xingliu, and then followed him out. Tsunade and Nono looked at each other, then each took one of his hands and pulled him to chase. At this time, even if Uchiha Xingliu was a straight man, he realized the problem. The competitive atmosphere between Tsunade and Nono made him feel uneasy. Before Uchiha Xingliu could figure out a way to solve the problem between Tsunade and Nono, they had already arrived at the place where the celebration was held. Due to the end of the war and the upcoming Chunin exam, this celebration was particularly lively and attracted most people in the village to participate. At this time, the place where the celebration was held had become a sea of joy. The entire venue was flooded with people. At a glance, there was only you can see a crowd of people, as if all the land is occupied by people's enthusiasm. Various cheers and laughter came from all directions, one after another, like waves rippling in the air. These sounds are full of joy and happiness, making people feel extremely relaxed and happy. In the alleys of the streets, there are also various snack stalls and game stalls. People line up to taste food and play games. The aroma of various traditional foods such as skewers, sushi, tempura, etc. is fragrant, making people salivate. people at the game stalls are happily participating in various interesting games, with laughter and cheers one after another. Just then, Uchiha Xingliu's voice sounded beside them. Xing! Lu Jun, what a coincidence! Uchiha Xingliu turned his head and saw Xingliu standing next to them with his head down and his hands around. Seeing Xingliu, Uchiha Xingliu's head hurt even more. He was still thinking about how to deal with the current situation, but now there is another one. But there is a saying that goes, as long as I start, nothing can stop me. Uchiha Xingliu, who couldn't think of a way to break the situation, just started. He pulled up the three girls, ignored their exclamations, and took them to a stall where shuriken hit balloons. Then, without paying any attention to them, Uchiha Xingliu asked, "Boss, how do you play this?" The vendor saw that it was a few children who came to play, so he came to them with a smile and said, "The rules are all above." As he said, he pointed to the side. Uchiha Xingliu looked closely and the rules were very simple: 100 tails at a time, with 5 paper shurikens at a time. You can choose any mask to break all the balloons. It was also specially marked on it that ninjas could not participate. After seeing this, Uchiha Xingliu asked worriedly, "Boss, we are all students of the ninja school, can we participate?" The vendor looked at the children and sneered in his heart, "Even if you are ninjas, you can't break the balloon. My balloon is made of rubber, how can a paper shuriken break it?" Thinking of this, he smiled even more brightly. "No problem, as long as you are not a ninja, you can participate." But he didn't see the strange expressions of Tsunade and the other two. After a while, a voice that made people cry was heard here. Chapter 87. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the vendor's frustrated look, Uchiha Xingliu took all the prizes lightly. He distributed the masks to several girls, and the girls immediately looked happy. Uchiha Xingliu smiled slightly. Although the vendor was not honest in business, the quality of the masks was still good. These masks were light and tough, colorful, and obviously carefully made. He distributed the masks he won to several girls one by one. Tsunade, Nono and other girls took the masks and immediately smiled happily, but he didn't know that they liked the masks so much not because of other reasons, but just because they were given by him. Uchiha Xingliu smiled slightly and his mood became relaxed. He looked around. The atmosphere of the celebration was getting more and more lively. People were laughing and talking, and the stalls were full of goods. He felt as if he had integrated into this happy world and forgot all his troubles. After that, I don't know what the girls whispered. Nono and Tsunade changed their previous tit-for-tat attitude, and the three of them began to celebrate with Uchiha Xingliu with laughter. After that, they tasted various delicacies together and played some interesting games. The bright moon was hanging high, and they were still immersed in the joyful atmosphere. At this time, several fireworks slowly flew into the sky, breaking the tranquility of the night. Uchiha Xingliu and several girls looked up, and their eyes were attracted by this wonderful fireworks show. The fireworks bloomed in the night sky, they bloomed with brilliant light, and each firework was like a beautiful dream. Their mood was also infected by the fireworks and became cheerful. Several girls cheered excitedly, waving the masks in their hands, as if to cheer for the fireworks. Uchiha Xingliu looked at them quietly, his heart full of warmth and satisfaction. Uzumaki Mido was not far away, watching this scene with Uchiha Ong and other clan leaders. Seeing their happy faces, I couldn't help but sigh. That's great, this is what Hashirama wants to see. After the new year, the ninjas of Konoha quickly changed their mindsets. In order to welcome the upcoming Chunin exam, even Uzumaki Mido was busy. In order to ensure the smooth progress of this exam, a large number of people participated in the preparations. Besides, everyone above the rank of Jonin in Konoha basically knew about the existence of Uchiha Xingliu. In their eyes, this was not an exam, but an exhibition match that announced to the rest of the ninja villages. The times have not changed. With this idea in mind, the ninjas involved in the preparations worked hard. They knew the importance of this exam, and what it meant to the representatives of other ninja villages. They wanted to see the expressions on the faces of the representatives of those ninja villages, and wanted to see their astonishment when facing the powerful strength of Konoha village. After the primitive accumulation of capital, Uchiha Xingliu is now idle. He couldn't sit still and began to instruct Tsunade and the others in their training and refine some elixirs they needed. While he was spending his days leisurely, the rest of the ninja village also set out for Konoha. The sand village is located in this barren place between a world filled with yellow sand. This barren desert seems to be a corner forgotten by life, but on this seemingly barren land, the sand village survived with their tenacity and perseverance. The second-generation Kazekage shaman stood on a high place in the village. Looking into the distance, he turned to face Haisha and Chisha, both of whom were outstanding ninjas in the village. Kurosa and Akashi, this time it's all up to you. Akashi, the 10 Kinmatsu are now in your hands. Remember, you can only operate 3 at a time. If there are more, you won't be able to control them. Kurosa, I'm confident in your strength, but you must be careful. Our sand village must win this time. Kurosa and Akashi looked at each other, and they saw firm determination in each other's eyes. They all knew that this was the moment for them to fight for the village, for their families, and for themselves. Yes, Lord Kazekage. Kurosa and Akashi said in unison, and in the hidden rock village thousands of miles away, Anoki was a little distressed at this time. The next generation of Earth ninjas didn't seem to have any particularly outstanding talents. After thinking for a long time, he sighed and said to Lao Zi opposite him. There's no other way. For the sake of the hidden rock village, you should be demoted to a genin first. Hearing this, Lao Zi couldn't help it. He blushed and said. Huh? What nonsense are you talking about? Don't you talking about my level? I'm a Jinchuriki, a Jinchuriki. You want me to take the Chunin exam? Are you serious? Anoki was so angry that he shouted. Asshole! Who are you talking to? This exam is so important. It's related to the future development of the Hidden Rock Village. Just go if I tell you to. Seeing that Anoki was so angry, Lao Zi's momentum weakened, but he still said stubbornly. You're anxious, you're anxious. Before he finished speaking, he was knocked to the ground by Anoki's punch. Fortunately, he didn't use too much strength in this punch, and Lao Zi climbed up as if nothing had happened. I know, don't worry. Cloud Ninja Village, the third generation Raikage spoke directly to the several jonin in front of him. You've all been demoted. Now you're genin. Go down and prepare to take the Chunin exam. The demoted jonin looked at each other, but finally did not dare to refute. They could only nod their heads. After they left, the third Raikage walked around worriedly. In his opinion, since he could be so shameless, the other ninja villages could do the same thing, so, these jonin were not safe at all. Thinking of this, he shouted. Call Dodai over here. In his heart, although Dodai was still a little young, he was the most suitable candidate with the bloodline limit of lava release. After Dodai came, before the third Raikage could say anything, he had already said. Don't worry, Raikage-sama, this victory will definitely belong to the Cloud Village. The Kirigakure is far from the mainland, and it is covered by fog all year round. Uchiha Madara looked at the third Mizukage indifferently. At this moment, in the eyes of the third Mizukage, Uchiha Madara's Mangekyo was slowly rotating. Although he was not a Jinchuriki, it was not so easy to control, but for Uchiha Madara, it was just a little more effort. You go to the Chunin exam held by Konoha this time. Let the three tails go berserk in the middle of the way and find the strong man hidden in Konoha. Yes. Chapter 88. You are listening at novelfull.audio. For Uchiha Madara, this period of time was particularly bad. First, there was news that someone in Uchiha had opened the Mangekyo, which made him a little depressed, because it was not the right time yet. His samsara I still needed time, so this chess piece was destined to pass him by. He didn't care too much because he was an older opener. When he died, Uchiha Madara was going to reclaim his eyes. However, not long after, all the white Zetsu he sent to Konoha village suddenly lost contact. Which shocked him. In Uchiha Madara's opinion, even if white Zetsu was discovered by Uzumaki Mido, so many white Zetsu would not even run away. Even if he himself, there was no way to do this except to start a big clearing. Therefore, he decided to use the upcoming Chunin exam to test the situation in Konoha, see if there were any changes in Konoha that he didn't know about. So, he came to the Hidden Mist village. This place is far away from the mainland, and the blood mist policy advocated by the third Mizukage also made him lose the hearts of the people. This is simply the most suitable chess piece for Uchiha Madara. Unfortunately, the Moon Eye plan is still the most important. And that hateful woman can actually use the power of the Nine Tails. However, everything is still in my plan. Wait, Hashirama, I am the one who will bring permanent peace to the ninja world. Is this Konoha village? It is indeed flourishing and bustling. It would be great if our sand village also had such conditions. Akasha sighed, his eyes lingering on the streets and alleys, looking at the villagers and shops coming and going. His tone was full of yearning and envy for Konoha village, and even a little jealousy. Haisha shook his head helplessly, patted his forehead lightly, and then pulled Chisha's sleeve, signaling him to restrain himself. Okay, Chisha, don't forget the purpose of our visit this time. Haisha reminded, his tone serious and calm. After hearing this, Kakashi reluctantly withdrew his gaze. He sighed deeply and nodded. Behind them, a group of sand ninjas were also whispering, and many of them had similar reactions to Akashi. Are you from the sand ninja village? That just as they were about to register for the Chunin exam, a voice suddenly came from beside them. They turned around and saw a ninja wearing a Konoha forehead protector. At this time, he was looking at them seriously. Yes, we are all from the sand village. What's the matter? One of the sand ninjas asked. Hearing this answer, the Konoha ninja showed a formal smile and said. Please don't misunderstand, I am your host. I will guide you to register in Konoha and arrange accommodation for you. Please come with me. The sand ninjas exchanged glances with each other and were silent for a while. They felt that it was unlikely to pretend to be a Konoha ninja in Konoha village, so they breathed a sigh of relief and agreed. After they hurriedly registered, they were arranged to a temporary residence and unloaded their bags tiredly. However, they soon discovered that there were not only ninjas from the sand village here, but ninjas from different ninja villages had gathered here. Hey, people from the sand village, do you want to join forces? A burly cloud ninja asked loudly. Kakashi and Kurosha looked at each other and met his gaze. They noticed that the ninjas around them did not seem surprised by the cloud ninja's proposal, and it was obvious that they had planned it in advance. Seeing that their attention had been attracted, Dodai strode to them and said seriously. Except for your sand village, we have decided to eliminate the ninjas from Konoha village first. He asked with a sharp look in his eyes. The other small ninja villages also have this attitude. How about you join us together? Akashi and his group widened their eyes and looked at the cloud ninja in front of them with surprise, and they were a little hesitant. They were in the accommodation arranged by Konoha. Was it really appropriate to talk about joining forces to eliminate Konoha on this occasion? As if he could see their inner thoughts, Tutai sneered, with a hint of disdain and anger in his tone. Haven't you figured it out? The people in Konoha did it on purpose. They deliberately put us all together and let us join forces, as if victory was already in their hands. At this point, his voice gradually became higher, and anger spread in his heart. Konoha's attitude was too arrogant. They put them all together, regardless of their strategies, as if to say, no matter how you make a move, the final victory must belong to Konoha. Tutai clenched his teeth, and the anger in his heart erupted like a volcano. He felt being despised and insulted. Konoha's decision was a provocation to him. He couldn't stand this attitude. He wanted to prove to Konoha that their decision was wrong. Yes, Konoha went too far this time. We have decided to eliminate Konoha first and let them suffer the consequences. Lao Zi also walked out from the side, and his heavy voice echoed in the air. His eyes flashed with firm determination, and it was obvious that he was also deeply angry about Konoha's decision. Seeing that the rock ninja also participated as the cloud ninja said, the sand ninjas also nodded and agreed to this plan. It's not a good feeling to be looked down upon, and they can't stand it. In the Senju mansion, Uzumaki Mito sat on a bamboo chair in the courtyard, and she looked deeply at Uchiha Xingliu. Aren't you afraid of breaking the mentality of these ninjas? But it is indeed a good arrangement. She spoke slowly, her tone full of thoughtfulness. Uchiha Xingliu stood in the courtyard, looking at Uzumaki Mito in silence, secretly patting his head in his heart. When I said it, I don't know who agreed with excitement. Everyone is a fun person, no one will say anything to anyone. The scene at that time appeared in front of his eyes. when he proposed this plan at that time, Uzumaki Mito was like a beast seeing its prey, with excitement and expectation in his eyes. Perhaps his inner thoughts were too obvious, and Uzumaki Mito looked at him with more and more wrong eyes. Uchiha Xingliu, who knew the perception level of the person in front of him, quickly changed the subject. Mito grandma, is it really okay for Konoha to have only me and Hatake Tsukumo participate in this Chunin exam? Hearing this, Uzumaki Mito's attention was successfully diverted. She stood up slowly, stretched, and revealed a lazy confidence in her tone. I wanted you to go alone, but the kid Hatake wanted to contribute to Konoha, so I agreed to let him go. As for the others, there is no objection to my proposal, little Xingliu. Uchiha Xingliu believed this. After all, in their opinion, the current Uchiha Xingliu is not just a small exam. Even if he goes to pacify a ninja village, it may be more than enough. Those people in the ninja village must be very angry now. Yes, the Umbu said that they have decided to unite and eliminate Konoha first. As they said, the two foxes, one big and one small, smiled at each other. Chapter 89. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Before the Chunin exam was fully opened, the undercurrent situation had already quietly grown in every corner of Konoha. Behind this seemingly calm situation, the four major ninja villages reached an unprecedented agreement under the deliberate arrangement of Konoha. Those small ninja villages that could only look up to the four major ninja villages on weekdays were also involved in this temporary alliance, forming a seemingly indestructible front. Among them, the Kyuzugaku, which had an erratic position during the war, was also quietly mixed in at this moment. In the eyes of Uchiha Xingliu, Kyuzugaku was undoubtedly a short-sighted and spineless existence. If there is anything that Kyuzugaku is most famous for, it is that his ninjas are proud to steal the ninjutsu of other villages. They are keen to obtain precious ninjutsu from other villages through various means, whether through transactions, espionage or other means, and after the demise of the Uzumaki clan, Keirin's mother, as a member of the Uzumaki clan, wandered to Kyuzugaku. She awakened the bloodline limit of physical healing, which Uchiha Xingliu thought was a real talent. After all, this world is respected by the strength of blood. However, the Kyuzugaku village only used her as a human pill, completely ignoring the possibility that she might grow into a powerful fighting force. They did not have their own firm position, but only knew how to swing between the strong, and they would side with whoever was stronger. In the subsequent ninja world wars, Kyuzugaku village had such operations. They moved with the wind and only chose to stand on the side of the winner. This unprincipled fence-sitting behavior made Uchiha Xingliu a little disgusted with this ninja village. Just like now, although Kyuzugaku village is an ally of Konoha, it has reached a cooperation agreement with the four major ninja villages behind the scenes. This is undoubtedly a betrayal and departure from Konoha. They simply felt that Konoha could not compete with the joint efforts of the other ninja villages in this exam, so they chose to side with the four major ninja villages in advance. This behavior undoubtedly shows what kind of village the Kyuzugaku village is. Even Uzumaki Mito felt a little disgusted with this village when he knew about this. After all, no one wants to be stabbed by an ally when they are fighting with others. The Whirlpool country did not participate in this Chunin exam this time, but they also sent people to explain the situation to Uzumaki Mito. But Uchiha Xingliu didn't know the specific content. They just knew that something might have gone wrong in the Whirlpool country. This made Uchiha Xingliu remember it in his heart. After all, although it is not the time for the Whirlpool country to be destroyed yet, but Uchiha Xingliu, this butterfly, has already blown the plot beyond recognition. Akasha and Kurosha led the people of the Sand Village all the way to the Chunin exam site. Their faces were full of confidence and relaxed, as if they had seen the future victory waving to them. After all, although this test has not yet begun, in their opinion, Konoha has been eliminated. No matter how strong Konoha is, can it beat the combined forces of so many ninja villages? Unless there is another figure like Hashirama Senju, after Konoha is eliminated, the other ninja villages will definitely not be able to beat them. Unfortunately, the people from the other ninja villages actually thought the same way, so when they met at the exam site, they all greeted each other harmoniously. Helping me eliminate Konoha, what a nice guy. ×4. Just as they were pretending to be nice to each other and greeting each other cordially, a teasing voice suddenly sounded in their ears. This voice was a little lazy and sarcastic, and seemed like the rustling of leaves in the breeze. Isn't it the Chunin exam? Why are all the people here uncles? The voice said softly, "No way, no way, there are people in their 20s who are not Chunin yet." As soon as these words came out, the scene became tense in an instant. The ninjas from the 4 major ninja villages were filled with angry flames in their astonished eyes. They looked in the direction of the sound and saw a child standing there, looking at them with a mocking expression. His eyes revealed a kind of disdain and contempt, as if telling them that he didn't take them seriously at all. This child was of course Uchiha Xingliu, who also came here at this time. He was wearing a black ninja uniform, and his whole body had a maturity and calmness that was inconsistent with his age. White Fang stood beside him silently, watching this scene. At this time, Uchiha Xingliu's expression was full of disdain. Although he knew that the other ninja villages would play tricks in this Chunin exam, he really didn't expect them to be so shameless. None of the people who participated this time were genin. The youngest among them was several years older than Baya. How could they be genin at such an old age and able to take part in the Chunin exam? These people were probably all jonin. Uchiha Sarayu's words and his demeanor made the ninjas from the 4 major ninja villages furious, but they also understood that this was Konoha's place, and the Chunin exam was about to begin. They didn't want to cause any trouble at this critical moment. "This is Konoha's territory, we can't do it easily," a person from the Cloud Ninja village whispered. "But we can't just be humiliated by him like this," another person from the Cloud Ninja village said dissatisfiedly. Just as they were talking about it, a person from the Rock Ninja village suddenly jumped out. He glared at Uchiha Sarayu with an angry face and shouted, "Hey, kid! This is not a place you can come to, go back to your mother to drink milk." His tone was very irritable and impatient, as if he was chasing away an annoying fly. Hearing this, Uchiha Seiu's eyes instantly became cold and fierce. He looked at the rude Iwagakure ninja, with a deep light flashing in his pupils. This look made the Iwagakure ninja named Lao Zi feel a shock in his heart, as if pierced by ice. He subconsciously took a step back, and the 4-tailed beast sealed in his body trembled suddenly. Suddenly, Lao Zi felt a flash in front of his eyes, and the surrounding environment instantly became unfamiliar. He found himself in a wide and dark space, surrounded by a chaotic darkness. He knew that this was the sealed space in his body, but before Lao Zi could figure out what was going on, a contemptuous voice sounded in his ears. "TSK, Anoki is very brave. He dared to let the human pillar come to Konoha. Aren't you afraid that he can't go back?" Uchiha Seiu's figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Lao Zi. His eyes were as sharp as a knife, with a hint of mockery and contempt, as if he was looking at a weak prey. This sudden change made Lao Zi's pupils shrink, and cold sweat instantly flowed down. Chapter 90. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing this scene, Uchiha Xingliu's mouth corners slightly raised, bending into a confident smile. He clapped his hands gently, as if he was very satisfied with Lao Zi's performance. Don't be nervous, it's not time yet. How can we do it without an audience?" He laughed sarcastically. Lao Zi was stunned by his actions, and immediately understood Uchiha Xingliu's intention. After coming to his senses, he wanted to defeat him again in the public eye. This made him frown, staring at Uchiha Xingliu with flaming eyes, and his heart was burning with anger. He didn't care so much anymore because of his bad temper, and fighting here would not affect the outside world. After thinking this through, he decisively jumped back and quickly distanced himself from Uchiha Xingliu. He quickly closed his hands and prepared to release the ninjutsu. However, at this critical moment, he suddenly found that he could not move his whole body. He reluctantly lowered his head, and saw that the dense sealing techniques were wrapped around his body, like dark chains. Damn! Damn! Lao Zi cursed in his heart, knowing that he had been hit by the opponent's technique. Although he was shocked, he still struggled hard to get rid of the restraints, but no matter how hard he tried, his body could not move. After dealing with Lao Zi, Uchiha Xingliu no longer paid attention to his struggle. He glanced at Lao Zi and saw that he was trying hard to break free from the restraints, but his body could not move. Uchiha Xingliu knew that no matter how Lao Zi struggled, he could not get rid of his sealing technique. He turned around and looked into the depths of the seal. There was a huge red orangutan there, looking at him solemnly. The orangutan exuded a powerful force, as if it could shake the entire sealed space. Sun Wukong, am I right, the 4-tailed Sun Wukong? Uchiha Xingliu slowly walked towards the 4-tailed, with a slight smile on his face. there was a hint of confidence and calmness on his face, as if everything was under his control. The four-tailed watched Uchiha Xingliu walk towards him, and couldn't help feeling a little nervous. It asked nervously, "Who are you?" That its voice was low and hoarse, but with a heavy sense of oppression. Uchiha Xingliu had a sense of déjà vu, which reminded the four-tailed of the person who made him lose his freedom. He couldn't help but take a step back and tried to keep his distance, but the sealed space was so big that it had no way to retreat. As Uchiha Xingliu approached step by step, the four-tailed felt an irresistible pressure. In fact, in Uchiha Xingliu's heart, he hadn't fully thought about how to deal with these tailed beasts, but Anoki dared to let the four-tailed come to Konoha, which was undoubtedly a provocation. Uchiha Xingliu also dared to respond to this, so that the four-tailed could not return to the Rock Shadow Village. Now, Uchiha Xingliu couldn't help laughing at the four-tailed. He didn't know that the four-tailed was free at the beginning, but was suddenly captured by two strong men. When they caught him, they said it was too dangerous, but they beat it like an adult beating a child. This left a big psychological shadow in the heart of the four-tailed, so when he saw Uchiha Xingliu laughing, the string in the four-tail's heart broke at once. It opened its bloody mouth and roared, ready to release the tailed beast ball. However, at this moment, Uchiha Xingliu suddenly moved. He flashed and appeared in front of the four-tailed in an instant, stretched out a hand, and gently pressed it on its chest. The next moment, the four-tailed ended up like Lao Zi. It only felt that its body was bound by a powerful force, and the more it struggled, the stronger the feeling of being bound became. What a hassle! Uchiha Xingliu looked at the huge monster in front of him and couldn't help but feel a little headache. Dealing with the tailed beast is not a simple matter, especially since the four-tailed Jinchuriki is still a candidate for the Chunin exam. At this time, the Chunin exam has not started yet. If the four-tailed is released directly to interrupt the exam, it will definitely cause unnecessary commotion and chaos. This is not the result he wants. Uchiha Xingliu narrowed his eyes slightly and thought about countermeasures quickly in his mind. After a moment, the kaleidoscope in his eyes slowly opened. At the same time, the body of the four-tailed Sun Wukong trembled slightly, and the originally violent demeanor gradually became quiet. Lao Zi was stunned not far away, his eyes wide open. And a storm in his heart, he couldn't believe his eyes. The four-tailed Sun Wukong was subdued so easily. Is this still the four-tailed who gets angry at him at every turn? Lao Zi began to doubt his decision. He should not have been impulsive if he had known earlier that if you don't stand out, the barbarians of the Cloud Ninja will also take action. Now, I'm caught in a big accident. I really regret it. Uchiha Xingliu glanced at Lao Zi, and a hint of teasing flashed in his eyes. After seeing that the four-tailed beast had completely calmed down, he turned his eyes to Lao Zi again, then he took a step and walked towards Lao Zi. When Lao Zi saw Uchiha Xingliu walking towards him, he couldn't help but feel a little flustered. He smiled calmly and said, "Ha, ha, do you believe me if I say I was joking just now?" Uchiha Xingliu couldn't help laughing when he heard Lao Zi's words. He shook his head, walked in front of Lao Zi, and said with a smile, "I still like your rebellious look just now. Can you recover?" As he said that, he reached out and patted Lao Zi's shoulder. Lao Zi saw that although he mocked him, he didn't do anything, so he prepared to say something nice to make him soft. As a result, the next second, the shoulder that Uchiha Xingliu had just patted was instantly ignited with flames. He wanted to throw himself to the ground to extinguish the flames, but he was previously bound by Uchiha Xingliu. At this moment, the bondage was not untied, so he could only watch his shoulder turn into a sea of fire, and the flames were like winding snakes, wandering on his skin. The intense burning sensation rushed directly into his heart like a knife cut, making him scream. Just when he couldn't help it and wanted to beg for mercy from Uchiha Xingliu, he found that he had disappeared. Uchiha Xingliu no longer cared about what happened in the sealed space at this time. Those flames only made Lao Zi suffer a little, and would not kill him directly. If the audience hadn't been in place, the actor wouldn't have died directly. Uchiha Xingliu had long ago pulled out the four tails in Lao Zi's body and sealed it up. He was not a saint, and he couldn't just spit in his face. In Uchiha Surayu's opinion, it was a good thing for him to suffer a little. Of course, the outside world would know what happened in the sealed space, and they said a lot, but in fact, those things just happened in a short time. The ninjas in the outside world only saw Lao Zi jump out and prepare to make trouble for Uchiha Surayu. They had no idea what had happened. When the two cloud ninjas saw someone taking the lead, they no longer hesitated and also laughed at him. Is there no one left in Konoha, so they let a child take the Chunin exam,